Hey, welcome back, guys. I appreciate you so much for the support in the last video. I think we got 50 views, so thank you so much. And just a little recap, I watched Backrooms yesterday. It was pretty confusing, not gonna lie. I haven't read any of the lore on the Backrooms, but from the looks of it, it seems like it's a psychology horror. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I recommend it. If you're more into what I'm into, like Annabelle and Dead Silence, Chucky. I don't think it's your cup of tea, but let's go ahead and today we're gonna be playing some Minecraft while reading about Karens. First story. So this happened just a couple weeks ago. I'll explain it how I basically experienced it. A white and race is relevant for later. Lady came in and Despacito was playing on the radio. So she went to our white team lead, who she thought would be okay with it, and started complaining about how, quote unquote, they shouldn't make us listen to Mexican music while shopping. Bro, Despacito's Puerto Rican, but okay. She also said some random BS about Kamala Harris, but I don't know if anyone knows exactly what it was. Okay, well, how does Kamala Harris have to do with them playing Despacito? What is her thought reasoning? Okay, sorry for the tangent. Let's keep reading. Team Lid did what she could to get this lady to just move on with the day, and she continued shopping. I think we all figured that that'll be the end of it since the song wouldn't be playing forever. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Oh, let me guess. She found some tacos in the freezer section. She's like, "No, we can't have tacos. Not here." While I was helping someone else, I noticed that same lady getting into some getting into my Latino coworker's line to check out. Okay. And all of a sudden, she left her line and came over to mine. I knew something happened then and there, obviously, but not trying to start anything else. I just asked her how her day was. I think she thought I'll be on her side with this next part because I'm also white. She went on to tell me that she was having a bad day and my coworker was being racist towards her because she wouldn't scan her stuff. Bro, okay, there's two sides to every story, guys. Let's see. Obviously, I didn't believe it, but I was so uncomfortable that I think I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Not wanted to make it worse. Yeah, agreed. You do not get paid enough as a grocery store worker to hear their problems. Just be like, oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. Uh, the same coworker asked if I was okay, and I just said yeah, because I didn't want the lady to go off on her anymore either. So I just kinda ignored her and waited for her to give me her card so I could get her out of there. The main frontline manager ended up getting here around the time this happened, and he told her that we weren't going to accept her money here because of her racist behavior towards my Latino coworker. Nice. She throws this big fit doing this fake deep voice like, oh, I'm a big bad man begging on this person type behavior. Just being really immature. She also said everyone may be scared of the manager, but she's not. I don't know if this was a racial slight or about his position as a manager. But the manager that kicked her out is a black man, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Thankfully, after some back and forth of her immature meltdown, she finally left and didn't escalate any further. I asked my coworker what the lady had said to her, and I guess she told my coworker that she was an American, even though the coworker was born in Texas. Just an ignorant and racist old lady thinks she can get away with being hateful. I'm glad she was kicked out. Hmm. Question is, did she get kicked out after she paid for the stuff or before she got the stuff? But yeah, let's read some of the comments from this. We had one lady that told a cashier straight up to stop hiring Hispanics like it was part of a casual conversation. Cashier mentioned her rant about immigrants. Wow, I can't believe people are just the entitlement some people have nowadays is crazy. But yeah, let's see if we can find another story that tops this one. But not to scare you guys. Did you guys hear the Enderman that was near me? I heard it, but I didn't want to take away from the story. But let's move on to the next story. I'm not a manager, but I used to work part-time at a bakery inside of a grocery store. I dealt with my fair share of Karens during this time. And just to paint this picture of how it would work, we had a binder with laminated copies of about 100 different designs the decorators did regularly. A customer would look through the book, pick the design they wanted, and fill me in on the details of what they wanted to buy, what size, what flavor, if any color changes were necessary, etc. Dude, I love those books. Sometimes when I was a kid, I used to go to the bakery section and look through those books and look at the Spider-Man cakes, look at Superman cakes. I haven't gotten one of them. I might get one next week, to be honest, now that I actually have money now. Well, not that much money, but enough money. But it's enough of the tangent. Our decorators would come in at 7 a.m. and stay for however long it took to complete their orders. So usually they were gone by early to mid afternoon. The bakery closed along with the store at 9 p.m. One day, maybe around 8:15 or 8:20, a woman comes in and says she needs a cake. I figure she's referring to the cake sitting in our cooler, which we keep at the ready in case anybody just wants something quick and simple. So I motion to the cooler and ask her if she sees anything she likes. Apparently, I'm a goddamn brilliant comedian because she starts laughing and goes, "No, sweetie, I need a wedding cake." What is this? What did we find here, guys? Should I just jump off? Not risking it. No, it looks pretty empty. Let's keep going. Alright, no big deal. I grab an order form and take down her information and then ask what day she needs it for. Tonight. Mind you, the store was closing in about 40 minutes, so even if I could decorate a cake, I wouldn't be able to help her. I tell her that there's no decorators present at the moment, but I could make sure it was ready for the first thing the next morning. She's clearly upset by this, but says that'll be fine. I continue taking her order and ask her what size she'll like. Our bakery was not a upscale joint, and our prices reflect that. Just about everything comes in frozen, so for our cakes, they came in a variety of predetermined sizes. She pulls out her phone and thrusts it in my face, saying, "Whatever this is." Oh, I bet she's gonna say it was like some 10-foot long meter cake or something. On the screen is a very beautiful cake. Smooth white frosting, 7 to 8 tiers. Dang. Decorations made in fondant and blown sugar. Before I even continue taking the order and dash her hopes when she sees the finished product, I tell her that would not be possible. I didn't mean to offend our decorators, but I told her the truth. Most of them were exceptionally gifted home bakers who didn't have formal training in terms of a culinary program or decorating school. I then politely refer her to a more upscale bakery that I knew of that's more equipped to help her than we were. Then the dreaded 6 words came. Can you guys guess what those words were? Can I speak to your manager? At this point in time, I had been working at that bakery for a little over a year, so I was capable enough to close the department on my own. As such, I was the only one there. I told her this, but offered to leave a note with the customer's name and number so my manager could call her tomorrow. Fine then. Let me talk to a store manager. Oh, she's going up the ranks. There were anywhere between one to three store managers who oversaw the entire grocery store and all its departments on staff a night. So I go to our phone and page the store manager over to the bakery department. The whole time we're waiting, she's staring daggers into me. Bro, why do they do this? Why do they do this? A manager I was fairly friendly with came to the counter in a few minutes and asked what the problem was. I briefed her before she went to talk to the customer. The second we got out there, the customer started spewing lies about me, how I was rude and refusing to help her. I tried to defend myself, but the manager just told me to keep doing my closing work out back. 10 minutes later, she comes back, shaking her head, rubbing her temples. That bee was crazy. Customer service industry is a blast. Dang,
Wait, so what happened? What happened? What happened? What did the manager say to her? Did she get in trouble? I'm assuming not because she left with her rubbing her temples and calling her a B word. But that is some crazy self entitlement people have. I don't want to make excuses for her, but weddings do bring out the worst in people when you're creating it's so much stress. But still, there's no reason for you to have to treat someone like they're below you. Especially if you're trying to get a cake from a grocery store, you cannot expect a $1,000 cake quality type of cake. You know what I'm saying? Let's read some of the comments. Wedding planning really brings out the worst in people. Agreed, agreed, agreed. Wait, she wanted a multi-tiered cake done for that night from a supermarket? Wow, agreed, agreed. Psychosomatics, I agree with you. I agree with you, brother. Well, I thought you were a cool cake shop, but this lady actually went to a bakery and a grocery store to buy a wedding cake. That is crazy. That is very crazy. But let's go on to another story. I appreciate you guys for watching still. Let's go.
And this is from a manager. So, the staff did not know it at the time, but our ketchup dispenser was empty. A boy around 10ish was just smashing down on the handle trying to get ketchup, but none was being dispensed. Okay, I would have done the same thing at 10. I was like, why is this not working? A staff member noticed the kid smashing the ketchup dispenser, so I went out to see what was going on. Oh, the ketchup is empty. I'll get a new bag from the kitchen. Give me 2 minutes and I'll be right back with some new ketchup. I removed the empty container, take it back to the kitchen, clean the dispenser and place it in a new bag. Take it out to the condiment stand and get met by Karen. Oh, dun dun dun. Karen, why did you take the ketchup away from my son? Me. The ketchup was empty, so I replaced the bag. Karen, why did you take the ketchup away? Go get your manager. Me. Uh, okay, 1 minute. I'll walk about 2 meters, turn around, and introduce myself as the manager. She then says, why did you take the ketchup away from my son? I say, ma'am, please lower your voice. The ketchup was empty. I explained to your son that I needed to take it back to the kitchen to refill it. No, you didn't. I was standing here the whole time. You took the ketchup away from my son. Ma'am, please lower your voice. You were not with your son. He was here alone, trying to get ketchup, which, like I said, was empty. Don't you tell me what to do. Do you know who you're dealing with? Nope. Ma'am, please get your belongings and leave this establishment. Cue the screaming and yelling. I will not leave this establishment. I'm going to burn this place down. Alright, at that point, I would have called the cops. Other patrons are visibly upset with what they're witnessing. Police are called. Good. Karen gives a statement. Police question me. I give a statement. Karen told the police that I struck her son. What? Pushed him out of the way and moved the ketchup to an area in which her son couldn't get access to the ketchup. Bro, it's not that serious. And how is she making this up, bro? I disputed the claim and offered to provide video evidence with sound of what actually happened. Police watched the video once, thank me, and walk out to the eating area. Ma'am, does your son have someone who can look after him? Her. His father is at work right now. Okay. You're being placed under arrest for making threats and a false police reports. More yelling, threats, and now tears. In the end, she was charged with making the false report, but not the threats, and received a lifetime ban from not just our restaurant, but the entire mall our restaurant was located in. I felt kind of bad, not for the Karen, but for her son. He has to live with that. Damn, man. Hope the restaurant is still in fine business, to be honest, after all that. But that is crazy. Let's read some of the comments. I always wonder how the hell these people live as long as they do. If something as simple as ketchup completely ruins their day. Agreed, agreed. I can't imagine if, like, let's say something actually bad happens to them. I think we would be in World War III at this point.
If they act this way for a mild inconvenience, I wouldn't want to be in the same country as them if something really didn't go their way. Yes. Imagine you run out of coffee at Starbucks. Yep. That thing is being nuked. You are dead meat at that point. I managed fast food and had people make up these stories. In what world would anyone believe it? That is crazy. Let's read another comment. Power tripping bully. Agreed, agreed, agreed. And another one. If only all the Karens in the world got charges pressed against them, the world would generally be a better place. Poor Ghetto. Agreed, agreed, definitely agreed. Dude, that is crazy. If that was my mom, I feel like I would have to distance myself from her. But the sad thing is, like, sometimes kids look after their parents, so they might become a Karen themselves. It's a cycle you have to break. I'm not sure if you guys have seen Naruto, but that cycle of pain, but instead of pain, it's going to be the cycle of Karen, you know? But how far deep can we go down here while I get ready for the next story? Oh, nice, some iron.
Next story. Oh, hell yeah. Buckle up. I worked as a manager at a chain barbecue restaurant. We will call it Popular Charlie's. There was this lady who we called Nacho Lady. That's cool. I'll get into why. She was that kind of overweight, holistic living, anti vax, essential oil military wife with my 2-year-old daughter who I talk to like a coherent adult that's going to change the world type lady. With all the Karen aesthetics to match, we all dreaded her when she came in. Speaking of which, this reminds me of a time of that I had to deal with Karens that came in when I used to work at Target. I used to work at the pizza making station. I think it was Pizza Hut. It's been a couple years, but anytime we would be out of caramel popcorn, because it was part of Target, you know, they have that popcorn with caramel. Anytime that would be out and old people would come in, not disrespect to old people, but some specific old people would get so pissed that they would speak to my manager after a certain time. Oh, what did I find here? But after a certain time, like my manager would get called so much to where I worked, where they just stopped coming out together, and I was like, "Hey, man, this is a problem we face all the time. Manager's not coming. He knows the problem with the caramel. We don't have caramel. We don't have caramel. There's nothing I can do about it." Dude, and sometimes people will want me to like a drive like maybe like 5 hours away to go get where we get the caramel popcorn delivered from. I'm like, bro, what is the audacity? That's how long my shift is. By the time I come back, it's gonna be the next day. But let's focus up. We call her Nacho Lady because whenever she comes by, she orders our nachos at our takeout area. No big deal, but she would want everything on the side, which again, no big deal in most situations because I understand that nachos get soggy really, especially to go. But what people don't like slash understand is seeing the actual proportions for everything. 2 ounces of everything really isn't that much. That goes for the cheese, chile, beans, and nacho sauce, all the works. Even though it is all proportioned equally, the customer doesn't like what they see, and that's where the backlash happened with Nacho Lady and the quote unquote Karen moment starts happening. She didn't like the actual proportions and demanded more, but refused to pay for it. Our takeout specialists were good at standing up for themselves and the rules. Of course, she didn't accept it, so she had to speak to her manager, which was myself or 2 others depending on the day. She would also order 2 kids' meals, pork sandwiches, and fries. Again, no big deal, but she was very particular about this one as well. The pork had to be dry, no barbecue sauce, and a separate container. Kids' buns toasted, which we don't usually do. The fries had to be dropped as soon as she walked in the door, so they are crispy and fresh for when she takes them all the way home. Bro, does she expect the whole restaurant to make sure, like, hey, this nacho lady's coming, 5 o'clock. She's coming in T minus 10 minutes. Put the fries in the fryer. Is that what she expects us to do? Because of her extreme specifications, it got to the point where only a manager was allowed to take her order and only a manager could review the order with her. This was always the most nerve-wracking part because she would sit down at our waiting table in the takeout area and open every single box and inspect everything, which would be typical to do in the first place.
but the way she went about it was very Karen. This is when all the issues would happen. Oh, let's see. Fries were never hot and fresh and crispy enough, sent back to get new ones. Not enough of the portion pork for the kid sandwiches, demanded more. Not enough cheese sauce and traded cheese, so she wanted more. Not enough tortilla chips, and you know the rest. The list goes on, and to top it all off, she somehow got a hold of a poop lot of free kids meal coupons that were blank, meaning no manager signature, dates, or any sort of validation that she got illegit. A coupon is no big deal, but a typical coupon can only be used at one time with one transaction. But a Karen being Karen, she demanded we use two out of giant stacks she gets her kids meals for free. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone knows you can only use one coupon at a time. This got to the point where things had to be ran by the GM, even if it means calling him on his day off, bro. I would just probably ban her from the store at this point. He was a bit of a B and always allowed it. But she started costing us money. It wasn't feasible for her to keep coming back and having her as a customer because 9.5 out of 10, we would end up having to send stuff back to the kitchen, which would get wasted. My other manager, Billy Joe, was a fierce person that never let anyone walk over her. She was awesome. She finally stepped up and made a call over the GM's order and 86'd her. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically banning from someone from your establishment. When that moment came, we all huddled in the office and watched the security cameras as Billy Joe ripped her a new one. That was an unforgettable day. I left and got out of the restaurant industry and management because of how toxic that field can be, but I do love that I have a quote-unquote Karen story. Nice. Karen being 86 is the best ending ever. Let's read some of the comments here. I would never own a restaurant, but if I did, I would empower each employee to fire or permanently 86 one Karen per month. No questions. And plenty of warnings around the place. If you're hostile to the staff, they'll throw you out on your ear while the coworkers applaud. Let's see. Another comment. Did she get banned? Yep. When a customer gets banned, when they get 86, they get banned, so. Let's see, another comment. My god, why did it take you guys so long to get her out of there? She was obviously abusing from the start. Yeah, I mean, it's because some people see the good in other people and maybe like they really need the food or whatever, but when you start abusing it and start treating people bad, that you're just abusing the system at that point, and you're not being a good person. Oh nice, we're almost to level 50. You guys think we can get to level 50 by the end of this video? But let's keep on going. Another story. Wasn't the manager but worked at a RE for a while. One incident came to mind though, involving an ex-marine who worked at our store fixing bikes. He had to run to the back to grab a part, and as he was coming back to the bike shop on the other side of the store, a customer who was already being pretty loud and aggressive with everyone decided to grab my coworker by the arm very aggressively and try to spin him around to face up. Bro, I would have been pissed if someone grabbed me like that. Marine training kicked in, and the next thing I know, angry customer man is laying in the remains of a display about 8 feet away. Of course, he jumps up screaming and yelling that he's going to sue us and get my coworker fired, and we're all going to jail, yada yada yada. Manager comes out, heard the story, looks at the security footage, and tells the customer he is never allowed to grab employees like that. He's welcome to call the cops if he would like, because she's willing to press charges against them for assaults, and he was banned from a store. No one at the store was upset about losing that customer. Well, of course. He was kind of notorious for being a jerk and constantly trying to abuse our return policy. Agreed. There's just some customers that just start grabbing out of a sudden. When I used to work at Walmart, there's like old people who would like get too close to your personal space. Well, not just old people though. Like a lot of people would get. Oh, what is that noise? We're getting out of here. We are escaping. Sorry guys. I think surviving is a lot more important than getting level 50. I am not going back there. Especially after watching the backrooms. Oh, did you guys see something? No, yeah, we're out. But yeah, like I was saying, if you ever been working at a grocery store, fast food, some customers just get too close for comfort. Um, but let's keep going up. Let's fill all in, fill all this in. No one can chase us, and it would be good.
Okay, and now let's see. Am I the butthole for not waking up at tours to overslept and missed the day trip she paid for? Hey guys, I'm 21 female, a Bulgarian tour guide who accompanies groups to Sicily. On a recent trip, one woman who was traveling alone, mid 30s, was constantly oversleeping. Alright, we already know where this is heading. The first day after we arrived, we had a day trip to Etna and Taormina, for which we depart at 8 a.m. as we do all other tours. I make sure that our tourists are informed of the departure times on the bus the day before, and they also have my number to call in case they forgot so I can remind them. They also have printed out pamphlets with the schedule made up by the travel agency that I hand out that has the time for departures on it. All the group was on time, except one woman. She was late by 10 minutes, which, okay, maybe she got caught up in something and was late. I excused it, then mentioned to the whole bus in the mic that I do not tolerate lateness beyond 15 minutes at most, in case of an emergency like a forgotten possession, and that I must always be called and informed in case someone is running late. Trip went by okay or otherwise. The next day, the same tourist was late again by 25 minutes. Dang. Is she like taunting her? It's like, yeah, you can only be 30 minutes late. Oh, we'll see. I'll show up 31 minutes. Almost an entire half hour. I called her twice to no answer, and we were just about to leave without her when she came out running and got on the bus. She got lucky as the receptionist of the hotel asked me about a missing piece of info on the rooming list and earned her some time. I reminded everyone again that I will not be waiting anymore for late tourists in the morning, and waking up on time is their responsibility. When we came back that evening, she asked me if I could make sure to wake her up on time. What? How old is she again? 30? I reminded her a third time that I'm not responsible for waking people up. Everyone gets a printed itinerary and departure times, and I announced everything the day before. She kept saying, no, no, just knock on my door if I'm not out by 8:15, and I keep repeating, I really can't do that. Please set an alarm. Well, on the day we were visiting Syracuse, she didn't show up. I waited 15 minutes after the supposed departure time, called her twice to no response, then left with the bus and the rest of the group. She called me in a panic about an hour later asking where we were. I explained the situation calmly. She got mad and said that I had one job and that I cheated her out of the money she paid to go on that day trip. Bro, how does she wake up a whole hour late and still expects to be on the bus? It's not even your city, dude. She missed the whole day trip and was furious the next day. Later, she told the rest of the group that I abandoned her and also called my agency, leaving a bad review about me. Am I the boho for not personally waking up a grown woman despite warning her multiple times I wouldn't? Nope, you are not. That's her responsibility. Dude, there are kids who are 10 who wake up on time, and she's 31 and can do it. Dude, okay. Let's read. Okay, they have an edit here. I talked to my manager today. I was nervous at first because I was already tired of this whole shenanigans and didn't want to spend ages defending myself. So I went to him first and explained the situation before he approached me. He told me word for word, Hun, I deleted that BS from my email as soon as I read it. Lol, an icon. They'll remove the bad review. That's super nice of them. Yeah, you're not the buffer for not waking up a person who's supposed to do it on their own. Like especially if I spent anything over 50, I imagine she's probably spent like maybe 1,000, 2,000 for a trip to not wake up. That is just a lack of responsibility and honestly it's kind of, I don't think I can say that on YouTube, but pretty idiotic. But let's read some of the comments here. This woman could have requested a wake up call from her hotel. That's true. Yeah, she could have just done that. Dude, what? I'm an avid traveler. I'll be angry to sit on the bus every morning waiting on someone who is chronically late. Agreed. Time is money and should be wasting mine. If she's worried about her, she needs to set an alarm. If she complained to other guests, I guarantee you they weren't feeling bad for her. Agreed, agreed. If you're having other people wait for you as well, that's extremely selfish. Anyone notice that the tardy tourist was asking Opie to knock on her door 15 minutes after? That is true, not even before the departure time, after the departure time. Which would mean if they were still asleep, even longer waiting time. That's insane. Insane, really. Does she expect the most of the people wait for her while her highness gets ready? Agreed. If she was a queen and she had like $1 billion, she could just buy her own chauffeur and do that. But no, if she wants to ride on the bus, she's gonna play by public rules. Let's read another comment. If you were a cruise ship operator, her lack of being able to be on time would cause her to be left behind at a port. Watch YouTube videos of cruise passengers who are special and think they can hold up the entire group. They get left. Agreed. Have you guys seen those videos where cruise ships leave? They tell you like, hey, be back around 7 p.m. and people are running towards the cruise ship around 7:05 and the cruise ship's already leaving, and then they just have to watch the ship go on, and then these people have to go fly a plane to the next shop or the next port where the ship's gonna stop and then get on there. If not, I mean their passport's gone, you know, so they're gonna have to find some other way of getting there, and that stuff is so expensive. I can't imagine. But yeah, no, you're not the boho for not waking her up. It's not your responsibility. The fact that they had the audacity to ask is next level Karen right there.
Okay, and random people can't be the only ones who can be Karen. It could be the people closest to you as well, as we'll see in this next story. So, girlfriend threw away the dinner I cooked because she wanted pizza instead. So, we're gonna be reading a conversation between a couple. GF, hey, when is your break? Can you pick up a pizza so I have something to eat tonight? The guy, no babe, I made the wine braised short ribs you said last night were your favorite. I got up early to cook them. You just have to pull them out from the pot. There's that and the small s'mores cake I made for Wednesday. Since there's extra, I figured you want some. Her, I don't really want that though. Can you just grab a pizza on your break? We can eat that stuff later. Him, no, I'm locked in for the night. What's wrong with the short ribs? You literally just said it was your favorite thing, so I made it special for you. Kind of sucks. ... Her, well, I tried it and it came out kind of gross. Anyway, so I'm just tossing it. Can you ask to leave for a bit and stop by a Papa John's or something? I just want stuffed crust. That's crazy. Him, what do you mean gross? You tossed it as in like threw it away? Her, it just tasted bad. I don't know what to tell you. It wasn't edible. It's not a big deal. I just need to eat something tonight for dinner though. Did you ask? Him, dude, WTF, that was an expensive meat. Why would you throw that away? I already told you I'm not leaving work. Well, I'm gonna cut it off there. To expect someone to get off work just to get a pizza, especially if food at home, like I understand it could have been nasty, but there has to be another something else you can eat, you know? And how bad could it be to throw away food like that? Especially if someone gets up early for that, the least you can do is eat it, you know? Her. Well, I just don't know what you expect me to do. It's simple as F. Just order pizza then if you're busy. Dude, why can't she order the pizza? She's at home. Like, I have to eat something. Hello? Pleasure calling soon. Him. I'm busy at work. I don't want to talk about it right now. Please figure it out. We'll talk later. Unread. Her. Seriously, you're going to be this much of a a-hole over this? I didn't ask you to cook anything. If you can't deal with the basics of being a supportive partner, then it should be something I consider and find someone who will support me. Whoa. Well, it seems like I don't know. This is a tough one because if the pizza was super bad, like, let's say it had worms in it and termites, you're probably not gonna be eating it.
no matter if someone I got up early to to make it. But if it's just like overcooked or something, the least you can do is like take some bites and it's like, hey, I gave this a shot. I think it's burnt. Uh, I like that you did it, but I think the pizza didn't come out alright. But if you want, I can make something for us, and then I think that should be the end of it. But let's read some of the comments here. You really shouldn't be dating a teenager. I can't comprehend this person being an adult. Sarcasm aside, get the hell out of this relationship. You want to spend the next 40 years or whatever with someone who throws homemade meals in the garbage, demands pizza from a chain restaurant, and is seemingly incapable of ordering delivery herself exactly, and is rude to you? Dude, there are so many red flags in this exchange that you can open up an Etsy store selling used red flags and become a multimillionaire. Nice. Another comment. She's being very disrespectful of you, especially spend time cooking food for her. She wasn't at all appreciative of even the thought of it. True, she didn't say thanks at all, which is a red flag. The comments in the last image were especially disrespectful, and the comment about finding someone else warrants considering leaving the relationship. You don't make statements like that to your partner if you care about them, especially if it's over not getting food. Next comment. Toss the girlfriend. Yeah, like the pizza. Look at her last message she sent you. Her goal was to make you feel like poop. Paired with the threat to break up if you don't jump to obey her every whim. She's just going to repeat and escalate that behavior every time you two disagree or you try to hold her accountable. She doesn't respect you at all. Agreed, agreed. Let's see if there's an update, and there is. The next day, actually. After spending the morning at a friend's house, I went ahead and just went back to our apartment. I haven't really slept, honestly, with how anxious I've been to just go and get the conversation, so I'm exhausted. Basically, I went back to the apartment. She was there scrolling on her phone. I went ahead and just came back with it and explained to her that I can't keep trying to make things work with someone who doesn't care about what I do for them. She started to cry and tell me it's just the way her brain works and it's not her fault. Saying whose fault is it? I mean, to be fair, sometimes it's not no one's fault, but in this case, I'm pretty sure it's hers. She says she's trying in her therapy and that she feels like she doesn't deserve to be loved. I more or less followed up and explained to her that I can't be the one to keep dealing with her when she treats me like garbage. She basically got angry as hell at this point and told me I never cared and I never really tried, or I wouldn't just leave over something so stupid. She broke a glass, alright, it's getting dangerous. I kept from growing up that was sitting up on our counter by throwing it on the ground, at which point I just stopped talking. I spent an hour with her yelling and begging me back and forth while I grab things I have that are valuable. I'm just going to disappear for a bit on my friends. I need to figure out what to do about the rent and stuff since we have a month until renewal. I know it's not really all that crazy of an update and it's just the way it should have played out, but I wanted to just get in and out and be done after thinking about it and being ready to move on from being unhappy. I appreciate everyone's comment and on to the people who reached out. I'll be honest, I feel like I've wasted a ton of my life trying to help a broken person, and it's just equal parts depressing while also a feeling of being empty and tired. I'm going to try my best to make things better in my life and only give people who appreciate me and the stuff that I do. And some of the comments here are honestly, I'm incredibly proud of you for this. You deserve someone who loves you as much as you love them. Get yourself a fun drink, watch a movie with your friends that you're staying with, play some League of Legends. Well, not that, I added that part myself. And just know your life will be better without that Alpha X in your life. Next comment. Pay the rent and then tell the landlord you're never doing and to talk to her about her own situation because you moved out. This way, there's no harm to your credit or any kind of BS to put up with. The minute she threw something, I would have been out. Grabbed my poop of value and just left. Start untangling any finances that are joint and leave. You deserve better. Agreed, agreed. I mean, yeah, it sucks. People can't just be appreciative of someone else's peaks of skills. But that one was not much of a Karen, more of a relationship issue. So let's get back to the Karen stories. So, well, it finally happened to me. I'm not certain this is more of an entitled selfish or just a run of the mill Karen story, but here goes. A few weeks ago, I, 39 mil, was on a work trip and went to a restaurant to get a meal at a casual type local place. Since I had a few hours to kill, I decided to dine in rather than get takeout. It was early afternoon and the place was around 60% full. The hostess seated me at a two top. Before I even sat down, I asked her for directions to the restroom so I could wash my hands before eating. I left my ball cap slash hat on top of the menu on the table, mainly so any server would know someone was seated. After the around 2 minutes it took me to go wash my hands, I returned and found my table and one of the two chairs gone. My hat and the menu included. Bro, did someone just steal your hat and the menu? I turned around to look for a server when I noticed that a nearby booth had a two top table with one chair pulled up to it. There were 5 people seated and only one on the two top. On the floor a few feet away, I noticed my hat. Bro, the audacity. When I approached to pick up my hat, I asked the people sitting there if they had moved the table. A woman in the booth, let's go ahead and call her Karen, responded that a friend showed up so they needed a larger or additional table and that this one wasn't being used. I responded that I had been seated there and was using it, and had left my hat on the table to indicate that while I washed my hands. She responded that there was no hat on the table. When I asked how my hat ended up on the floor, picking it up and pointing to it next to her table, she said she never saw it. Alright, that's a plain lie right there. At times like this, I really want to tell the manager, hey, can you put up the footage? I need to see, just so you can see the look on her face. At this point, I noticed a waiter, so I gestured for him to come over. I explained that this party moved my table over to their booth. I said I had no problems if they wanted to use one of the chairs for their additional guest, but that I would need the table. Karen cut me off at the end and said, to me, not the waiter, that I should just find another table since they were already using it. I responded, to the waiter that is, that I was using it, which was why I had left my hat there while I washed my hands. At this point, the other woman who was sitting at my table started to, presumably to give me the table back, but Karen immediately said, don't you dare to her, then stared at me and the waiter as if daring either of us to respond. Bro, she's holding everyone hostage. The waiter started to say he was sure they could find her another table. She cut him off with a typical Karen response. We are not giving up the table, and I need to speak to your manager. Okay, why do you need that table specific? And why are you taking someone else's table whose hat is there? There's different ways to go about this. And he said the restaurant was 60% full, so 100% there's another table they can use. Why does it have to be the one with the hats on it? Um, the waiter started to say he was sure that he could find her another table. Okay, we read this part. This is when I decided I really liked the waiter and would give him a nice tip. He responded that he wasn't going to waste his manager's time on a complaining Karen and told her the options were to give me back the table or go eat somewhere else. I'm not sure how, but it worked. Except for the staring daggers and muttered comments, which I found amusing, she did not appreciate my periodic smirk or chuckle response. Looking back, I maybe could have just moved, but I also assumed it was an innocent mistake until Karen opened her mouth and hit me with that parented attitude. Agreed. If they were like, "Oh my, I'm so sorry, I did not see that. Here you go," I would have been, "Okay, that's a mistake. Maybe the hat did fall down or something." But if they're acting like that, obviously they knew the hat was there and they're gonna try to think that they're always right, and you can't do anything with them, because the way they were raised, they're super entitled. But let's see some of the comments. Good for you. Never saw the hat. That's pure Karen behavior right there. Exactly. This is very satisfying Karen story. I hope the waiters tip generously and often. Agreed, agreed. Waiters are MVPs. Another comment by Unlucky Dreamer 1. It sounds like she probably saw you get seated and decided to take the table because she could. It happens and it's usually because they want to start something. It was probably nothing against you. She was probably hoping to get her meal for free or something. Yep, I don't know. These people are something else. These people are something else.
And now let's end it off on a banger, fellas and gals. So Karen follows us because we wouldn't turn on red. This happened 9 years ago, but another entitled story reminded me of it. My daughter and I carpooled together at our job. It was my daughter's week to drive, and on our way back to pick up granddaughter from the babysitter slash great grandma's house, we were 2 blocks away at a red light when the SUV behind us starts honking her horn full blast. I look behind and see she has her hand out of the window like she's waving us to move. While laying on her horn, I point to the no turn on red sign and then we ignore her. When the light turns green, we go and notice that the SUV is following us. We pull up to my daughter's grandmother's house and the SUV pulls up beside us. The lady, probably in her 30s, gets out and starts screaming that she's in a hurry. And by us sitting at that red light, we made her late. Wait, let me get this right. You expect someone else to turn a right on a no right on red sign and then you're late, but instead of going to where you're going to go, you follow this other person, you get out the car and you start berating them, making you even more late. How does that even make sense? Okay. Now Karen is in full Karen mode. The SUV, popped haircut, tracksuit, and entitled attitude. Okay, the haircut was a dead giveaway there. My daughter yells back that she's not going to get a ticket turning at a red light when the sign said no turns on red just because she's late, and told her to get out from in front of her grandmother's house before she calls the cops. Karen starts yelling again that we should have moved so she could have gone. I pulled my phone out and said a cop would make you really late. She finally got in her car and took off. We just couldn't believe she actually followed us to scream that we made her late because we followed a traffic law. Exactly, what even was the point? Let's read some of these comments here. I'm sure they agree. From Sourdough Season. Are we late but followed you? She had time on her hands. Agreed. Too much time is my guess. Probably late for lunch at Panera Bread with the girls after their yoga class. Agreed. Let's see another comment. You never want to lead these types to your destination. Especially not your house. Who knows what they would do? That is a good point. People are crazy nowadays. Dad had the solution when he had one following through multiple streets and parking lot. He drove to the police station. That's a good one. Let's read one more comment. That crazy heifer couldn't have been running late if she had time to follow you and get out of her car to harass you. Once again, agreed. But yeah, I'm not sure what you guys would be doing in that situation, but I'm not going to get a ticket just because the car behind me wants me to break the law. I'm not taking that risk. I know how crazy some drivers are, and I'm not risking my life just so some Karen can make it on time to her lunch, which she should have left earlier. That's on her. But anyway, guys, that's all the stories I have for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to drive, play some games, or just sleep while I'm reading these stories. It's really fun. I appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you guys follow if you guys have the chance. Subscribe if you guys are willing to. I appreciate you guys taking the time to chill with me, and I'll catch you guys on my next video. And if you guys have any recommendations, just let me know. Thank you. Ciao. Bye.